So today we're going to talk about something that affects every miles and points enthusiast at one point, and that's devaluations. Now, if you've been in the miles and points game for a while, you've probably noticed that sinking feeling that comes when a loyalty program all of a sudden changes its rules without any notice. Now, unfortunately, we can't predict what loyalty programs are going to do, but in this video, I'm going to share with you some strategies to help protect your hard-earned points from losing value. So to start out with, what exactly are devaluations? Well, a devaluation is basically anything that reduces the value that you can get from your points. And depending on the loyalty program that you use, a devaluation might look a little bit different. And here are some examples. So the most common type of devaluation in the miles and points world is simply an increase in the number of points that it costs to book something. So for example, you might have been saving up for a redemption that costs 50,000 points and you're just about close to getting there. However, one day you wake up only to find that that redemption now costs 60,000, 70,000, 80,000, or maybe even more points than it did before. Now, while that's the most common type of devaluation, there are lots of other different types too. So for example, a loyalty program might increase the amount of taxes and fees that you have to pay, but keep the cost and points exactly the same. So in these cases, the flight or hotel booking that you want to make might cost the same in points, but you have to fork out a little bit more cash. Now, specifically speaking to the hotel world, you might find that a hotel jumps in category, which means that it just costs more in points than it does before. Or for a hotel loyalty program that uses dynamic pricing, you might just see the ceiling lifted on how much a stay might cost. Now, some other types of devaluations in the miles and points world might be increasing the thresholds for attaining elite status, reducing some of the benefits that you get with each tier of elite status. For transferable points programs like American Express Membership Rewards or RBC Avion, a devaluation might mean losing a transfer partner or lowering the transfer ratio. Or for any fixed value points program, it might just mean reducing the value that you can get per point. Now, even though loyalty programs might try to paint a picture of giving you more flexibility with your points, providing members with more value, unfortunately, the opposite is usually true, and simply put, devaluations mean that you have to pay more for something than you did in the past. And while we're at the mercy of whatever loyalty programs decide to do, which could include devaluing their points at any time, there are some strategies that you can use to help protect yourself from devaluations, and that's what we're going to get into right now. And the first strategy I want to talk about is keeping your transferable points transferable. And there are two aspects to this one. Number one is that earning transferable points is the best way to protect yourself from devaluations. Now in Canada, the two best types of transferable points currencies are American Express Membership Rewards and RBC Avion. Now as a reminder, American Express Membership Rewards points transfer to 6 airline partners and 2 hotel partners, whereas RBC Avion points transfer to 4 airline partners. Now let's focus in on American Express Membership Rewards. With this single points currency, you have access to Air Canada Aeroplan, which represents Star Alliance, British Airways Executive Club, which represents the One World Alliance, and Air France KLM Flying Blue, which represents the SkyTeam Alliance. So, just by collecting a single points currency, you have access to airlines within all 3 major airline alliances, as well as external partner airlines. So in addition to earning the right kinds of points, to help protect yourself from devaluations, you're going to want to keep your American Express Membership Rewards points or your RBC Avion points in your account for as long as possible until you're ready to make a redemption. So by keeping your points flexible and transferable, if one of the airline partner programs goes through a devaluation, you've still got lots of options at your fingertips. So the best strategy here is to lock in a redemption that you want to make and then transfer your points in and then make the booking right away. So whenever I need to top up my Aeroplan account for a redemption, I know that the points transfer from American Express Membership Rewards to Aeroplan instantly, so I could be on the phone putting together a complex booking with Aeroplan, and they see the points move in instantly once everything is confirmed. Now, instant transfers don't happen with all airline loyalty programs in Canada, unfortunately, but some loyalty programs do offer award holds, which means that you can lock in a booking and still have time to transfer in your points. So the takeaway here is to earn transferable rewards points as often as possible, and then keep them transferable until you're ready to make a redemption. And this leads nicely into the next tip that I'm going to offer you to help protect your points from devaluations, and that's to earn and burn with purpose. So if you've been around the miles and points world for a while, you've probably heard your friends telling you to earn and burn as often as possible. Now, unfortunately, miles and points are a terrible investment, and they don't appreciate over time. And in fact, whenever a loyalty program goes through a devaluation, your miles and points depreciate in value. Now, whenever I'm helping friends and family get started with miles and points, I always suggest the same thing. Set a clear goal, focus on the programs that will help you meet that goal, and then book it as soon as you're able to. Now, of course, it's also a good idea to diversify the type of points that you collect just to make sure that you have all your bases covered for whatever you want to do. However, you're going to want to lock in on 1 or 2 primary points programs that help you meet your goal, and then you can start thinking about diversifying your points afterwards. And this is exactly what I did when I got involved with miles and points. When my wife and I were planning our wedding, we wanted to earn enough points to fly business class on our honeymoon, and we set the goal of flying with Turkish Airlines in business class. And fortunately, the best points program to use for booking Turkish Airlines business class flights is Air Canada Aeroplan. Now, it didn't take long for us to earn enough Aeroplan points to book our flights, and then afterwards, we set the goal of earning some hotel points so we could stay in some fancy hotels along the way. Now, importantly, as soon as we earned enough points, we kept an eye out for award availability, and then we locked it in. Now, the takeaway here is to not treat your points in an investment that's going to appreciate in value over time. You're only ever guaranteed to get the value from your points from whatever you can book today, and unfortunately, with devaluations, that could change tomorrow. So your best bet is to earn and burn with a purpose in mind. Now, the third tip that I'm going to share with you today to help protect your points from devaluations is that knowledge is power. Now, what I mean by this is that oftentimes the same flight can be booked with multiple points programs. So if you have your eyes set on a particular flight with a particular loyalty program, even if that program goes through a devaluation, you can probably book the same flight with another program that may not have gone through a devaluation as well. Now, to illustrate this, let's use a hypothetical example. Suppose you want to fly with British Airways in business class. And after doing a little bit of research on the Prince of Travel website, you discover that you can book British Airways business class using British Airways Executive Club, Qatar Airways Privilege Club, American Airlines Advantage, Cathay Pacific Asia Miles, and more. Now, all of these programs can be accessed either directly or indirectly through credit cards and loyalty programs accessible in Canada. Now, in this hypothetical situation, if the cost for a British Airways business class flight increases in one program, you have a ton of other options to still book that exact same flight. And in fact, what you might find is that the program that you were focusing on in the first place may not have even been the best one to book the flight that you wanted in the first place. And so the takeaway here is that one of the best ways that you can protect yourself from devaluations is to learn about all of the different options that you have at your disposal, because you might stumble upon a new sweet spot in the process. Now, the next tip that I'm going to share with you to help protect your points from devaluations is to pounce on opportunities as they come up. Now, in order for this to work, you're going to need to be flexible with your travel plans, and that's actually one of the best ways that you can leverage miles and points. So as miles and points enthusiasts, we're at the mercy of whatever loyalty programs decide to do. And in some cases, it's predictable. So for example, British Airways Executive Club guarantees a minimum amount of award seats on every single flight that they have. And so, if you want to book a British Airways business class flight using your British Airways Avios, you can be 100% certain that there are going to be a minimum amount of seats available on every single flight. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, some loyalty programs seem to release award seats based on changes in the weather, or just whenever they decide to do so. So if you've had your eyes set on a bucket list award flight that's really popular, like Singapore Airlines Suites Class, ANA First Class, Japan Airlines First Class, and the list goes on, you're going to want to pounce on the opportunity as soon as it comes up. And that's because you never know if and when it might come up again, and it might cost you a lot more in the future if that loyalty program goes through a devaluation. Now, there are lots of services out there to help you score that unicorn redemption or to keep track of hotel pricing. So to help score some of these bucket list experiences, you're probably going to want to sign up for them. Now, we also keep our members informed of the latest award drops and hotel availability at great rates, so be sure to check out the Prince of Travel membership too. Now, unlike paying for travel with cash, one of the great things about using miles and points is that you can get all of your points back and all of the taxes and fees back for a reasonable fee, and in some cases for free. So even if you need to cancel your bucket list flight or hotel stay, the nice thing is that you can usually get all of your miles and points back at a reasonable cost. And a really good example of why you should consider booking now and then planning a trip around something later is just because you never know what might happen. Now, not too long ago, it was possible to book the JW Marriott Masai Mara Lodge in Kenya for just 75,000 Marriott Bonvoy points per night. Now, cash prices at this resort usually start at around $1,750 US and only go up from there. So for a short period of time when hotel stays were available for this price, it represented one of the best ways to squeeze outsized value out of your Marriott Bonvoy points. Now, if you flash forward to today, the lowest price that you're going to see for a night at the same hotel is 196,000 Marriott Bonvoy points, which is more than double what it used to cost. Personally, I'm kicking myself for not locking in a redemption at this property while the pricing was still good. Most of my colleagues here on the Prince of Travel team have done a stay at the lodge, and they said it was one of the coolest experiences they've ever had in their life. So even though it's still possible to book the same property and the same experience using points, it just costs a lot more than it used to. One of the most unfortunate parts of the miles and points world is that you're going to experience a devaluation at one point or another. Now, while devaluations are inevitable, by using the right strategies, you can help manage your risk. So remember, points unfortunately are a terrible investment, and you're going to want to earn and burn them as often as possible. But you also want to be earning the right types of points, and you also want to have the right type of mindset. Now, in the next video, we're going to talk about the major changes that are happening to Aeroplan in the near future, so I'll see you there.